All right, everyone. Hillary Clinton is still mad about 2016. And, I'm kind of hip to the idea because if you want a position and then you lose it, I don't think that you forget about it, and especially when it's the presidency. So on the surface, it's like I can understand why she'd still be salty about it, but she can't admit that she lost fair and square, and that largely it was because she was shit as a candidate. Hillary Clinton was pro-war. Openly admitted wanting to tax people through the ass, and had no real qualifications. Plus, she had health issues. It was funny because in response to this archived link in the description, of course, to the Hillary article, somebody posted on Twitter, they were like, oh, yeah, they tried to put her down, but Hillary is still standing. So I posted the footage of her on that 9/11 celebration falling over and getting thrown into the back of her van with the comment that she had trouble standing for some time. Hillary Clinton has been doing this now for years. In the immediate wake of the 2016 election, of course, she did what every candidate who loses does, and she sort of wandered into the wilderness. And it's funny because Gore did this, and he grew a big-ass, scraggly beard, and he started looking like a pirate. It looked like he wanted to take over the next Obi-Wan Kenobi role or something at some point. It was really funny. He wants to look like an older Mark Hamill. But it's funny, she does that for a month. And she comes back and she immediately embarks upon a tour of a crazy campaign of blaming everyone but herself for her loss. She blamed female voters. They didn't turn out enough. It was funny because I think that people that were willing to stand out there with ridiculous pink hats on, doing a primal scream therapy at the sky because Trump won, probably went to vote for you. So she blamed female voters, partially because an analysis, white female voters, including the college-educated, broke relatively heavily for Trump. They probably will again this time. She blamed black voters, in a roundabout way, of course, totally. She blamed, what was it? She blamed the DNC. She said, well, they made me do all these fundraisers. They didn't give me enough support. I didn't have enough time to go campaign. You canceled one of your most important rallies on the eve of the election, practically. One of her last final rallies is going to be North Carolina. The margin in North Carolina was so goddamn close, she probably could have pulled it off if she hadn't canceled the rally. She failed to rally at all in Wisconsin, just taking the state for granted. Trump went there 15 fucking times. She sucked as a candidate. She blamed the DNC fundraising apparatus. She blamed her advisors. She blamed female voters. She blamed black voters. She blamed deplorables. And that, of course, the most famous, blaming Russia. Now, we've had years and years and years of nonstop investigation of the election and everyone involved with it, and we've found no tangible evidence of Russian interference beyond a few troll farms making Facebook shitposts. That didn't swing the election. It couldn't have even swung a single state. Yet people still have this weird belief in their mind, this weird delusion that Russia played an outsized role in the election. So now, link again in the description, Hillary's doing it again. Wow. I'm worried that what happened in 2016 is going to happen. She says this slurred through her Chardonnay haze. I'm worried that Russia's going to interfere again and Trump is going to cheat. It's just like the other day she was saying, well, if Trump loses, he might not go quietly. He might break the toys before he leaves, or he might become a power-mad dictator. Trying to whip people up into a fearful frenzy is what Hillary Clinton does best. She does this, and you can see it in her eyes that she enjoys it too. She enjoys being smarmy. She did this in 2016. Again, in part with the deplorable, irredeemable thing, the insinuation was if Trump wins, Nazis win. If Trump wins, the yucky part of the population, by which she really means the little people, the working class and so forth, people with oil-slicked suspenders and Confederate flags on their pickups will be running the country, which is funny because he's actually a massively wealthy corporate billionaire from Manhattan and was a business Democrat for most of his life. Really, he fits in more well with the Clintons, politically speaking, than with the old wave Republicans. He had to literally overhaul the Republicans, make them more like the Democrats in many ways. The populism thing was more a Democratic proposal 15 years ago. It's interesting how the times have changed. Now it's considered racist if you do that nowadays. If you care about American workers, you've got problems now. But Hillary Clinton claiming that Russia is going to do it again. They didn't do it in the first place. That mythology is basically a way for her to sell books. And in one way, she wins. Because she makes this comment, she gets on MSNBC here, and it gets replicated and goes viral, and she sells more books. She sells more shirts. She even maybe has a few core fans get whipped up and think, well, maybe Biden will drop because of his dementia. Maybe Biden will croak because of an aneurysm. Maybe it'll be Madam Hillary 3.0. This time she can actually do it. She'll break the glass ceiling. That's what they're hoping for. They're like vultures gathered around Biden. If I were Biden, I'd feel a little bit scared of the fact that the Clintons really inside would love it if I fucking died. I'd be a little bit concerned because when the Clintons start thinking that way, it typically happens, as we've seen multiple times over the last couple of years. Allegedly, Epstein braided that toilet paper real well. Before he hanged himself with a toilet paper noose or whatever he did. He did a forward somersault off of 3 foot of bedside with toilet paper around his neck and successfully strangulated himself or broke his neck or whatever. Very funny how he managed to accomplish that. Yeah, Hillary Clinton is just bitter. But she's not so bitter when she sees the check in the mail. When she gets the 5 or 6 figures from her extra book sales, she feels a little bit better, and then she doesn't have to drink as much, and Bill has fewer bruises. Why do you think they keep him at home at this point? They're probably worried, when you get old, you bruise more easily. He probably like bumbles around and has a black eye, and they're worried that people will blame Hillary for socking him in the face for, as Colin Powell, I believe, put it, dicking bimbos still. Interesting terminology from Colin Powell, considering the fact that he's usually considered rather serious and solemn, but if you look at his emails, he's talking like a college frat boy. By the way, they want to rig him in as president. I think didn't he get a bunch of faithless electors switch from Hillary to vote for Colin Powell? I think like 4 people did that in 2016, and it spawned a SCOTUS case. It's funny because they expected faithless electors are going to keep Trump out of the White House, and actually I think Hillary Clinton actually lost more electors than he did through that process. I think, wasn't it 7-2 or something like that? It was great. So yeah, there was no Russian collusion, but keep grifting after book sales. I guess it works, or she wouldn't be doing it. One thing you can't claim is she doesn't have business sense. That's about all. Peace out.